Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to episode 56 of the Nindie Nation podcast. I'm Jeff, and if you're new here, Nindie Nation is your one-stop weekly shop for everything independently developed for the Nintendo Switch. We'll discuss every new indie game hitting the eShop from March 6th through the 12th, and then we'll take a look at the eShop and recommend only the best deals so you can keep those Joy-Cons synced without breaking the bank. If you listen better with your eyes than your ears, that's okay, because every episode of Nindie Nation posts on Sunday, but is followed up with a video on Monday, including trailers of all of the games we cover, and you can find them over on the Nindie Nation YouTube channel, alongside Let's Play videos like the brand new one for Bloodroots, and let me tell you right now, that one is a doozy, so go check it out. There's a ton of stuff over on our YouTube channel. If you're looking for something besides Nindies, you're in luck, because Nindie Nation is a part of the Nintendo Village, a group of awesome people creating all kinds of content like podcasts, YouTube videos, articles, and reviews, all focused on Nintendo, and it's all available at thenintendovillage.com. But enough of that, let's get into the games. There are just so many indie titles hitting the eShop every week that sometimes a couple slip between the cracks, so what better way to kick things off than taking a look at the Nindies we missed since last week's episode. Adrenaline junkies rejoice. On February 27th, publisher Saber Interactive released their take on dirt bike racing with MX Nitro Unleashed. This game hit the YouTube gaming scene pretty hard this week with a lot of sponsored videos. And while that makes a genuine take a bit harder to discern, everyone I saw playing this game seemed to really like it. Taking cues from the Trials series, but moving the camera to a unique behind the bike but still looking at a side angle, it's full of races, ramps, and a bunch of customization as you'd expect from an MX game like this. It's only $10 too, so at least for the time being, it seems like we've got our go-to dirt bike game. And another exciting title, this one called Spartan Fist, released on February 28th by Jondusoft, who I'm not usually very impressed with, but I'm really digging this one. It's a first-person roguelike punching game? Yeah, so if you're thinking Nintendo's own ARMS, that's a good place to start. But then throw in super high-definition Minecraft-style art with big, blocky, stylized pixels. And then, instead of the smaller boxing ring levels of ARMS, think more like the arenas from Splatoon, and you've got yourself Spartan Fist. Running through first-person gauntlets, earning new upgrades to be stronger on your next run, and throwing in procedurally generated arenas? I don't know, guys. This one looks pretty slick, and it's only $12.74 during its first couple of weeks. I think I'm going to try this one out for myself, so look out for more thoughts soon. And the same day, developer Tequila Byte Studio released their mech simulator B.A. Walker for $10, and I love most of what I'm seeing, yet there are a couple of aspects that, for me, really hold it back. Be a Walker lets you choose between controlling a giant mech in a side-scrolling style as you protect your colony from invaders, or allows you to play as a humanist, trying to protect your native land from the colony and their mechs invading. Sounds cool, right? It looks pretty cool, with artwork that is like half CG and half comic book, but here's the kicker. Apparently, and I guess it's because they are so overpowered, Tequila Byte takes pride in how complicated it is to control the mech, having to manage each leg one at a time, similar to true quote-unquote walking simulators like QWOP or Octodad. That really kind of kills it for me, but I'd be lying if I said this game didn't definitely pique my interest. Indie games, am I right? And get ready, citizens, because hitting the eShop on March 2nd is the first game by Scarecrow Arts called The Story Goes On. And in addition to being a top-down hack-and-slash dungeon crawler, this game comes complete with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements. The Story Goes On also touts an adaptive soundtrack that reacts to the action on screen. While the visuals look simple and leave a bit to be desired, the $5 price tag seems right on the money if you need a hack-and-slash dungeon crawling fix this week. And another first Switch title, this time by a publisher known only as Grab, is a real-time strategy game for $15 called Amoeba Battle, Microscopic RTS Action. I hate it when they put the descriptions in the game's title like that, but anyways. If you can't tell by the name, Amoeba Battle takes place inside a colorful, tiny world that takes me back to Game Boy Advance titles like the Minish Cap and is just adorable with little amoeba who must forage for food before mutating and multiplying, and it is this evolution that gives Amoeba Battle a bit of a unique angle on the RTS genre. We don't get a ton of these on the Switch. It looks decent enough, but I'd look at some reviews or maybe some more videos to make sure that this is the right RTS for you. And after releasing their own indie direct earlier this week, solely focused on a slew of visual novels, on March 4th, Radaleka shadow dropped a visual novel developed by Nom Nom Nami about a candy alchemist who finds a candy golem in her candy shop basement, and it's called Syrup and the Ultimate Sweet, and it released for $3.99, a 20% discount for launch week. I mean, it looks adorable, but unless you're all about over-the-top cuteness, this title could end up being just a little too sweet for you. For a visual novel with a little more of a medieval twist, look no further than this week's choose-your-own-adventure-inspired Swordbreaker by Dragius Games for $4.99. You've got abandoned castles, magic libraries, dudes in armor, and all kinds of Dungeons and Dragons type tropes, so if you're looking for a visual novel, you've got two completely different options, both for roughly the same price. Talk about variety, let alone quality this week. All of these look worthy of your digital dollars, but to me, the only titles that look solid enough to sit outside of the fans of the genre category are Spartan Fist and Be a Walker. I'm really interested in those. But how do these compare to the Nindies launching next week? Let's take a look at the 12 releases hitting the eShop March 6th through March 12th to find out. The first release on March 6th is a simple, pixelated horror adventure called Breeder Homegrown Director's Cut by Sometimes You, who is unfortunately known for mostly throwaway titles with an occasional gem, and Breeder might fall somewhere in the middle. It tells the story of a man returning to his home after escaping a clinic to help his family deal with the strange creature that has inhabited their home for generations. The whole thing can be completed in around an hour and will cost you $4.24. That's a weird price. I never understand those weird prices. If a crime syndicate of anthropomorphic farm animals is more your style, and why wouldn't it be, then Save Coke, spelled Koch, could be just the game for you. Set across a 6-day period, you are a pig mob boss trapped in a panic room, monitoring and directing your mafia to oust a mole and stop a hostile takeover before the time runs out. It plays out like an adventure game, and after you finish, you can restart with a whole different setup of events which are randomly generated. The developer, Overgames, hasn't released much yet for the Switch, but they've been releasing fairly solid titles for the PC for quite some time, and their newest title, Save Coke, hits the eShop on March 6th for $20. And a perfect game to kick off your weekend, also on March 6th, is Afterparty by Night School, the team behind the wonderful Oxenfree. With the same wit and unique approach to just about every aspect of an adventure game, Afterparty takes place as two best friends, Milo and Lola, die and end up in hell. That's dark, huh? They learn of a loophole to earn their way back to Earth, but the catch is they have to outdrink Satan. You can probably imagine, but just to be clear, this game is for mature audiences only, but it is an awesome, hilarious title with very few contemporaries. If you're in the mood for a fun weekend game, a story that will have you laughing out loud, or you're already a fan of adventure games and are just looking for your next escapade, I can think of no better place to turn than Afterparty. And it's on sale this week, only $15.99, down from the regular $20. Also, know that for those of you with Xbox Game Pass or Game Pass for PC, Afterparty is already included as a part of that collection, and that's actually how I played it. Cubic Games is such an interesting publisher. On one hand, they have a few real Nindie gems with games like Monospark and Robonauts, but then on the other hand, they publish games like our next one, Welcome to Primrose Lake, which hits the eShop on March 10th. Now, As a quick aside, Cubic Games actually seems to be a great publisher. They develop some games in-house, but otherwise have proven to be a very supportive publisher for small indie studios. They let their developers retain IP rights, and they work really hard to promote their titles, even if they happen to do the whole one-penny game promotion thing a bit too often. They help small developers find success, and I applaud them for that. Anyways, back to this $8 dump fest, which is an unfortunate way to follow up that praise for the publisher. Welcome to Primrose is a mobile game, and it's a bad mobile game. It's one of those time wasters with the really obnoxious art that looks like whitewashed anime that you see in just about every shovelware mobile title out there. Don't buy this game, but do check out some other Cubic Games titles. How's that for a criticism sandwich? Hey Nindie Nation citizens, sorry for the low quality audio. This is Jeff with a quick correction from the editing bay. In this week's episode, I harped pretty hard on Nomad games because I thought this new title, Mystic Vale, was a rip-off Magic the Gathering game. However, as Nomad Games reached out to correct me, it turns out I was wrong and it is instead based on a beloved tabletop card game by Alderock. I'm not familiar with these games, but looking at online reviews shows that Nomad does a pretty good job at recreating these games in the digital form, with the primary criticism being that they're built primarily for the fans in mind, and they're not quite as accessible for newbies. They are, however, appreciated by the fans, and Mystic Vale releases on March 12th for $22. Again, my apologies for the correction and the low-quality audio, but I wanted to ensure that we are treating developers and publishers fairly and with accurate information. Back to the show. The next release is called Nin Days and comes to us by Queryate. If you're not familiar with them, they've popped up more and more frequently and seem to only publish visual novels that feature underage anime girls in scantily clad attire. Here we go. From their description. In this romantic adventure game set in Akihabara, you'll laugh and cry over the entertaining lifestyle of a slightly erotic female ninja and the main character's cohabitation. From the ninja village in the mountain, Sumier was commanded to leave. With orders to train in the city, however, lacking food and money, she collapses by the side of the road. Saved by the main character, she is determined to repay her debt to him and suddenly becomes an uninvited guest at his house. Yikes. Not only are these games a shameless attempt at getting softcore porn onto the Switch, their stories fail to reach the standard of the trashy romance novels your aunt buys at the grocery store. You know what? These games are literally grocery store romance novels, just meant for a different audience. Anyways, it's $8 and it releases on the 12th as well. But don't fret, citizens. This next release looks totally rad and is the first release by a Mexican studio called Mecha Studios. And we don't see that very often. Their game, Neon City Riders, takes the general formula of action RPGs and mashes them together with arcade beat-em-up games, making something that kinda resembles the River City Ransom series, but adds in enough mechanics and different scenarios to make something really unique. And it does it all in a stylish 1980s world that is part cyberpunk, part post-apocalyptic, and all neon. Citizens of Nindie Nation, I think Neon City Raiders could very well be this week's diamond in the rough, and you can pick it up on March 12th for $17.99. The next game to release on the big Thursday drop of March 12th is apparently an award-winning indie gem that I've never heard of, but holy crap, their trailer almost brought tears to my eyes. I can't believe I'm admitting that. A Street Cat's Tale is essentially an Earthbound 16-bit style RPG about a lonely cat who has lost its mom, and the trailer features the kind of music you'd expect to hear alongside the saddest looking dogs and cats as you're asked to donate to your local animal shelter. Isn't it a Sarah McLachlan song? A Street Cat's Tale looks pretty full-featured with all kinds of survival and relationship mechanics, and even multiple endings. I wonder how that pans out. A Street Cat's Tale is developed by Fimo Dev and published on the Switch by CFK and is waiting to break your heart for only $7.99. Now here's something new. We've of course seen life simulators and dating simulators, but I can't say I've ever seen a game that pegs itself as a rom-com adventure, basically combining work, life, and dating simulators all into one. And I love the pitch here. Half Past Fate is well presented with a modern pixel art style set against 3D backdrops, and I think it looks pretty darn neat. I'd love for someone who is regularly a fan of these life and dating sim games to try it out and let me know what you think over on Twitter at Nindie Nation. Half Past Fate is developed by Serenity Forge and will launch on sale at $15.99. In Bento is another cat-themed game releasing this week, but this one is a puzzle game based around cooking and preparing meals for bento boxes. Of course, it features cats, but also a wordless story, bright pastel colors that are easy on the eyes, and a tranquil soundtrack. If life is stressing you out, why don't you pause for a minute and try some In Bento by Afterburn for just $4.99. Did that sound like a pharmaceutical commercial? I think it sounded like a pharmaceutical commercial. In Bento by Afterburn. The next game is the first multiplayer game we've had all week. Isn't that crazy? And while this one hasn't received a ton of attention, at least I've never heard of it, this little indie game, originally releasing way back in 2011 for Xbox Live Indie Games, has received rave reviews from the handful that I could find. People seem to love this game. Hidden in Plain Sight, developed and published by Adam Sprague, is a very low budget but very clever collection of minigames. All the minigames are about trying to accomplish a specific task faster than any of the other players, but without being spotted by them either. Think like getting from one side of a room to another, or taking an item off of a pedestal and returning it back. They're very simple tasks. This game looks extremely fun, and I'm gonna shell out the $5.99 to try it out at my next game night. And finally, on March 12th, launching for the devil's price of 666 pennies, is Brotherhood United, a 2D run-and-gun title with tons of explosions and guns that is presented as a pixelated tribute to action movies, starring, guys like Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger. It reminds me a lot of Broforce, but with the camera zoomed in a lot more because it's only a single-player game. Looks pretty neat. I gotta say, going into this week, I wasn't familiar with a lot of these games, but turns out there's some real bangers here. Afterparty is a sure bet for adventure gamers. Hidden in Plain Sight looks like a great party game, but my pick of the week is definitely Neon City Riders, because this game just looks awesome. But if you're hoarding your digital dollars, look no further, because there are 390 games currently on sale, with 167 of those deals brand new this week. So let's head on down to the eShop and see which Nindie is right for you. And if you've got a cough, try In Bento by Afterburn. Atomic Heist is a very tough but rewarding twin-stick shooter with some unique mechanics and customizable weapon loadouts. It's currently 81% off for $1.49 and is absolutely worth it at that price. Sydney Hunter and the Curse of the Mayan is a passion project 5 years in the making that really pays off with a deep Indiana Jones-style 2D adventure and over 15 hours of worthwhile content. It's half off this week for only $5, and this is one I highly recommend. The Bleed series are on and off sale constantly in the eShop, but now both of these fast-paced action games are in a bundle, and that brand new bundle is 85% off for only $4.19. If you like ninjas with guns, flipping around, running fast, and doing general side-scrolling ninja things, you'll love this game. And both of them for $4 is a great deal. If you want the pants scared off of you, there's a couple of series that are widely known and respected for their quality and general spookiness, and the Amnesia series is right there at the top. You can get the Amnesia collection for 60% off and get the first 2 games plus additional content for only $11.99. Seeing people play all that run and hide scary gameplay makes me want to run and hide, I'll tell you what. If you haven't played Rocket League yet, you should, period. End of story. At its core, it's rocket-powered cars playing soccer and has received numerous awards and accolades and wide critical acclaim, and it's also received an enormous amount of post-release support, including new modes and hundreds of DLC cars that are available for purchase. You can jump into Rocket League for only $10, which is half off the regular price, and it is also, like many other games on this list, absolutely worth it. This is a great one for kids as well. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is one of the most beautiful games available on the Switch. It blends hand-drawn, movie-quality artwork with an open-ended 2D world to explore and multiple playable characters, all with different abilities that will help you solve puzzles and battle enemies. It's one of the pricier Nindies, but when it's 50% off like it is now, $20 feels like a great price. We've talked about the Trine series a million times, I feel like, and they always seem to be on sale. But it has been a while since we've seen a really good discount on them. These medieval fantasy titles are renowned for their impressive visuals and combination of puzzles and battle. And right now, the first 3 Trine entries are 70% off for $4.49, $5.09, and $5.99 respectively. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the Trine series. I feel like they move a little bit too slow for my taste, but I do know that they are widely beloved. There was a time when it seemed like 9 Parchments would always be on sale, but not so much anymore. It's been a while for this one too. If you're looking for a great multiplayer game in a more light-hearted vein than Diablo, and you like the idea of combining twin-stick streams of magic to tackle enemies while looting and upgrading to your heart's content, it's hard to turn down the 70% discount that makes 9 Parchments only $5.99. And Raging Justice is a classic arcade brawler through and through with a really unique kinda stop-motion claymation art style. For fans of the classics like Streets of Rage, or even the newer brawlers like 99 Vidas, Raging Justice is an easy one to recommend, especially when it's 70% off for only $4.49. And that's it for this week's deals. But for more, don't forget to follow Nindie Nation on Twitter, because we'll always keep you up to date whenever great deals happen to go live. And while you're on Twitter, go give @VillageNintendo a follow. Why? Well, even though their Twitter handle is backwards, the team over at the Nintendo Village is as forward-thinking as possible with their daily articles and reviews for everything Nintendo. And they have other podcasts like the Nintendo Village podcast or Nintendo Nostalgia. They even have a YouTube channel with weekly shows like P-Myth Gaming that are always worth your time. So check them out at any of those outlets or find all of their content in one place at thenintendovillage.com. Oh, and while you're on YouTube, did you know there's a Nindie Nation YouTube channel? Of course there is. This is 2020 and we're not cavemen. On our YouTube channel, you can find a weekly video version of this very podcast, complete with game trailers and other footage of every title we discuss. There's also a consistent stream of Let's Play Nindies videos, including the newest one, Blood Roots, and it's a great Let's Play if I do say so myself, so hook us up with a like if you have a chance to watch it. Other than that, I think we're all done for this week. You've got last week's missed games, you've got this week's new releases, you've got the best Nindie deals on the eShop, and you know where to find more content, whether you're looking for Nindies or for anything else Nintendo related. As for me, well, I've got nothing but thanks for you and the time you've spent with me today, citizens. Thank you so much for watching or listening today, and I look forward to our time together again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, I'm Jeff, this has been Nindie Nation, and no matter what kind of game you're looking for, know that you can always count on Nindie Nation to help you find just the game for you, so you can keep your Joy-Cons synced.